Hey there guys, the PC Guy here with the news in tech and gaming for the week. And the highlight of this week definitely goes for the launches, or at least the review embargo lifts on the Threadripper 3960 and 70X, as well as the Intel 10980XE processors, kind of mouthful of names. And we have finally some numbers to put on their performance and actually rate them on how good or bad they are in terms of price versus performance. I did a video on that already in the past Tuesday, I believe, so I'm not going to go too in-depth in that. Let's just say it was an eventful launch week. The Intel processor in particular has earned the wrath and irritation of a lot of reviewers worldwide because Intel decided to pull the review embargo time a few hours back from its supposed deadline. This was done clearly with the intention that the Intel review launches would go live first, because obviously people want to have them live as soon as the embargo lifts. That they would go first, and the Threadripper would still be under embargo, so the Threadripper would not be featured on the Intel reviews because people could not legally do it because they were under NDA. So the intention was obviously so that the people that were prospectively looking to buy the Intel part would not come to the realization that everyone did when both reviews went live, and that all the independent reviewers mentioned, that the Intel part was vastly inferior both in terms of price and performance. Without going into full-on details, the Intel part is basically just a refresh of the 10980XE. Same number of cores, some number of everything. The only difference is a couple 100 megahertz higher boost clock, and that's basically it. Basically, it does not even translate into much of a performance increase because that boost clock increase that I just mentioned is just swallowed up by the mitigations that they try to do for hardware vulnerabilities. So whatever gains there were, they are being held back by those necessary mitigations. So you're basically getting the same processor as you did on the last generation. The only actual improvement is the price point. It's being priced down from the nearly $2,000 mark to half of that at $999 and actually $979 shortly after. So that's really the only improvement here, and even then it's really still not worth it. The Ryzen 3950X almost beats it while being priced at $750 and fitting on a mainstream platform and not HDD. And the Threadripper parts, the 3960X and 70X, completely destroy it in pretty much anything. The only thing it's better than that is at gaming, where it has a slight advantage, but these are not gaming processors, so I don't see how that is even a relevant thing. Sure, some enthusiasts with deep pockets might get it into their systems, but that's not the point of the processors. If you want some more in-depth information, check the other video that I did on Tuesday. I'll put the card up there for you to check it if I have not already when I mentioned it. And well, yeah, that's pretty much it on that subject. The Ryzen parts do feature a number of improvements over the last generation of Threadrippers. Much higher core counts, up to 32 cores, 64 threads. Higher clock speeds have obviously improved IPC compared to last generation. They support AVX2 now. They have improved memory access structures, and well, just anything that you name it, it is better in this generation than it was in the last. So at least the Threadrippers have seen some improvement, unlike Intel's parts. AMD has also announced the 3990X to be launched next year, which will be an absolute abomination of a CPU with 64 cores, 128 threads, and the price is kind of up in the air at this point. We have no idea on further specs like clock speeds and that sort of thing. We also have no idea about the price, but it's gonna be expensive. Would not be surprised if it would be upwards of the 3.5 4K or more, but we'll have to wait and see. And obviously this is a very niche product for people with professional uses for it. And not even a day after the 3970X was released, it already was hitting the news by, well, kind of predictably breaking a lot of overclocking records, with someone actually getting 5.75 gigahertz boost on that machine. So that is quite crazy, really, for such a big CPU. You can expect that it was done with a whole lot of exotic cooling, probably NL2 and whatever else. So yeah, nothing that you could actually achieve at home, obviously. ID64 has also reportedly added support on their software for AMD Vermeil and Renoir, which are going to be the code names for the next generation of Ryzen processors, the 4000 family, let's call it. Vermeil and Renoir are respectively the desktop and mobile parts. They're expected to be launching the mobile ones on Q1 2020 and the desktop parts on Q3 2020 tentatively. We have no solid date so far, but they are supposed to have quite a sizable amount of improvements, a lot better IPC, a lot better performance than the Zen 2 family, and that was already quite an improvement, so I'm quite excited to see how those are going to perform. And well, for more details and more, things like clock speeds, core counts, all this sort of thing, we'll have to wait and see for further details. But so far, ID64 has already integrated support for them from their own benchmarking software. Since people so desperately want RTX 2080 Ti Super, some modders and overclockers from the TecLabs team have kind of Frankensteined one into existence. They have taken out the chips from 2080 Super cards and they have glued them onto, well, I say glue it as a simplification obviously, but they have added it to 2080 Ti, and keep in mind I mean only the memory chips, to increase the memory bandwidth and, well, give kind of an estimate of what 20 Ti Super would look like. This is obviously a very, well, let's say heavy-handed approach at trying to emulate what a 2080 Ti Super could look like, but it does give us an idea on the potential improvement. And keep in mind that any improvements that would be seen in such a card would not be limited probably only to the memory, but also to other parts like power delivery, CUDA core count, and all that sort of thing. So it could be even better if it actually came into existence, which we have not really heard anything official at this point, but are expecting to hear it on CES next year. Depending on AMD's announcements, Nvidia might use this as kind of an answer to that. In better news for Nvidia and slightly less good news for AMD is that AMD has lost 5% market share to Nvidia again, according to the latest numbers that we have. Nvidia was holding on to 67.9% of the market. Now the CC seem to be at the 73% of the market, so again it's a roughly 5% increase. The better news is that AMD, even with this loss, still has 1% more than they did last year, which I guess it's something. Now this can be explained by several things. You would think that with the 5700 series launch, AMD would have gotten a bit more sales, and they probably did. It probably accounts for some of the recovery. However, they don't have much, well, they didn't have much in these quarters on the budget section, and that's where the volume really is, and that's where you really get that market share percentage in terms of, just raw numbers, because not everyone is rocking high-end hardware. A lot of people are on the budget and entry level, and AMD didn't have anything new in that for a long while. Now they have the 5500 that is going to be coming out. They potentially will have 5500XE in the future, and there have been talks of 5300s as well. So in the upcoming quarters, it might look better for them in terms of actually raw numbers of how many people are using their products, but we'll have to wait and see about that. In the budget and entry level, Nvidia has pretty much no competition right now. AMD's cards are from several generations ago, so they aren't really as eye-catching as they used to be, even though they do have very good price per performance. They just aren't hitting the news because they've been around for a while already, while Nvidia has their 1660s, their 1650s, and etc. that are new, shiny, and look a lot better and have all the flashy lights. And well, they are just in the news cycle and they have a lot more visibility, so obviously they're probably more attractive to people as well. And slightly less encouraging news for Nvidia as well. Apple's and Nvidia's relationship has taken an even worse turn, with Apple and Nvidia just basically not supporting each other's thing in the new OS systems, with Nvidia not supporting Mac OS on their CUDA core architecture, at least not on the most recent one, and with Apple in turn not giving CUDA core support in their latest Mac OS updates. This is a feud that's been going on for quite a while, especially since a few years ago Apple lost quite a bunch of money when a few of their MacBook Pro lineup, and I say a few, but it was actually quite a few, had failed GPU units in them, so they had to be be recalled and replaced. You know how that goes. And so they lost a whole ton of money on Nvidia's account, and it got so bad that they started going for mostly AMD for their GPUs. And well, yeah, obviously Nvidia shouldn't be too happy about that, and the ramifications are what we are seeing right now. Despite that, in software-wise, they always supported each other, since a lot of people still have older products with Nvidia cards, and people found ways to jam Nvidia cards into Apple's computers even when they were not supposed to be put there. So there was a level of hardware support there that is now basically discontinued. That is a bit troublesome, especially for people that use that sort of techniques to be able to work with RTX cards for ray tracing effects if you're an animator or something like that. But yeah, that is pretty much kind of a downturn once again on the Nvidia and Apple relationship. In terms of gaming, there is finally hope. A lot of people have for very long been hoping for a sequel to Half-Life 2, well, namely Half-Life 3, and after an hiatus of many years, a new Half-Life game is coming. It's called Half-Life Alyx, and according to Valve themselves, it is just the beginning, and other games will happen as well. So it will be a VR game, so kind of very specific use case. It will possibly and hopefully be the start of a new series of Half-Life games that well, we'll be able to get back into the universe and explore it a little bit more. This game in particular will be set before the events of Half-Life 2, so no real continuation of the story, just a little bit more of, well, let's say exploration of the backstory of the world. And they have to say that they have been waiting for a chance to get back to Half-Life universe for a long time, and that they are exploring new ways to tell the stories and the characters in the world, and that they would love to continue pushing forward, hopefully in the form of the much long-awaited Half-Life 3. Cooler Master World Series 2019 has just finished a couple weeks back, and I felt like it would be nice to let you guys see the winners of this year's edition. It is basically a modding competition on the PC space. If you are into case modding, then this is the place for you to compete. They have both an amateur and a master league, and I'll just wanted to let you guys see the winners of this year on the master league, which are usually the more impressive ones. The first place goes for AK Mod on a very elegant solution here, as you can see. Seems very handmade, very non-flashy, and yet a very nice PC enclosure. Timpalai got his second place with his SL600MI project, which looks exceptionally clean, and while not as exotic as the first place, it does look a very well executed mod. Explore Modding got the third place with his Railroad project that looks like it seems to me like a very red and white build with a nice color contrast. It just, I don't know, it gives me a bone and blood feel to it, to be honest. So that's the idea that I get of it when I first look at it. So it definitely stands out. And while these are very much the traditional case-shaped mods, there are also some very interesting other projects. Like for example, the X-Wing that you can see here by Random Design. This is actually a PC enclosure that you see right here. So definitely something out of the ordinary, and definitely also not the easiest to design. You can get a few pics here, for example at the water cooling build that is here inside the enclosure. Definitely very challenging when it comes to cooling and other challenges that you face when you are doing a build like this. Last, the bonus scratch build by Ainani, it's called Leviathan, and it is possibly one of my favorites on the ones that I just showed you. Extremely original, very, very well executed, and I mean, let's face it, wouldn't you like to have a PC Tech Shark on your desk? You probably would. I definitely wouldn't mind. I'm gonna say that the first one is probably my favorite. However, I also would definitely not say no to having that little shark on my desk right here. So yeah, this was CMWS 2019, and this was also the end of this week's news review. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a comment on what kind of topics you'd like to see covered in the future more. Let me know what you think and what there is room for improvement. If you'd like to help the channel grow, consider subscribing and watching our other videos. That always helps the algorithm pick up a little bit. So that is all extremely important if you'd like to see more content by us. So hope you guys see you guys in the next video. Have fun, and I'll see you later.